The Third Testament, Section 12, Judgment and Purification of Mankind. Chapter 53, The Time of Judgment has come. Harvesting the fruit of human seed. 1. Beloved disciples, these times are times of judgment for mankind. The time limit has expired so that you may begin to pay your debts. You are now collecting the harvest of the past sowings, the result or the consequences of your works. 2. Man has one time to do his work and another to answer for what he has done. The latter is the time in which you live. Therefore you all suffer and weep. Just as you have one time to sow and another to reap, so God also has one which he granted you to fulfill his law and another to make his righteousness known. 3. You are now living in the time of divine judgment. Pain makes you weep, humanity purifies itself in its own tears, for no one is spared from reparation. 4. These are times of judgment, in which you are to reflect on your fate, so that by immersion and spiritualization you may hear the voice of conscience, which does not deceive nor deceive, but leads you on the path of peace. 11, 58-61. 5. This is the time of judgment for mankind. Man for man, people for people, and nation for nation will be judged by my divinity. Yet men have not noticed this, nor do they know in what time they live. Therefore I have come in spirit and have sent down my ray upon the human mind, and through his mediation I have revealed to you who speaks to you, what time it is in which you live, and what your task is. 51, 61. 6. Verily I say to you, you are already living in the day of the Lord, you are already under his judgment. The living and the dead are being judged at this time, past and present deeds are weighed on this scale of judgment. Open your eyes so that you may be witnesses that divine justice is felt everywhere. 76, 44. 7. Since ancient times I have spoken to you of a judgment, and now is the announced time, which the prophets represented as if it were a day. 8. The word of your God is King's word and will not be taken back. What does it matter that thousands of years have passed over the same? The will of the Father is unchanging and must be fulfilled. 9. If men, except to believe in my word, would understand to watch and pray, they would never be surprised. But they are unfaithful, forgetful, unbelieving, and when the trial comes, they attribute it to the punishment, revenge, or wrath of God. For this I say to you that every trial is announced in advance so that you may be prepared. Therefore you must always be awake. 10. The flood, the destruction of the cities by fire, the enemy incursions, the plagues, the plagues, the plagues, the famines, and other afflictions were announced in advance to all the peoples of the earth, so that you should be prepared and not be surprised. Just as today, a message of the love of God has always descended from the love of God for vigilance and armament, so that men may awaken, arm themselves and become strong. 24, 74-77. 11. I tell you, although it is true that this world is facing very great trials, the days of pain will be shortened, for the suffering of men will be so great that it will cause men to awaken, to lift their eyes to me and listen to the voice of their conscience which will demand of them the fulfillment of my law. 12. My righteousness will eradicate all evil that exists in this world. Before that I will investigate all things, religious communities, sciences, and social institutions, and then the sickle of divine justice will pass over it, cutting off the weeds and leaving the wheat. Every good seed that I find in the hearts of men, I will receive so that it may continue to germinate in the spirit of men. 119, 10-11. Purification of Humanity in Judgement. 13. How much longer will men have to develop so that they may understand my love and feel my presence through conscience? When men hear my voice advising them and fulfill my law, it will be a sign that for them the times of materialism are over. 14. For the time being they still have to be afflicted by the forces of nature in many forms until they are convinced that there are higher forces against which man's materialism is very small. 15. The earth will tremble, the water will purify mankind, and the fire will purify them. 16. All the elements and forces of nature will make themselves felt on earth, where human beings have not been able to live in harmony with the life that surrounds them. 17. Thus nature does not seek the destruction of those who defile it, it seeks only harmony between man and all creatures. 18. If its judgment is becoming more and more apparent, it is because man's offenses and his lack of conformity to the laws have also become greater. 40, 20-25. 19. The hand of man hath brought judgment upon him. A storm rages in his brain, a tempest rages in his heart, and all these things are also revealed in nature. Its elements are unleashed, the seasons become unkind, plagues arise and multiply, and this is because your sins increase and cause disease, and because foolish and presumptuous science does not recognize the order determined by the Creator. 20. If I would only tell you this, you would not believe it. Therefore, it is necessary that you should be able to grasp the result of your works with your hands so that you may be disappointed. Right now you have reached this moment of your life in which you experience the result of all that you have sown. 100, 6-7. 21. Life on earth has always been accompanied by trial and atonement for man, but never had this path of development been so full of pain as now, never had the cup been so full of bitterness. 22. At this time, men do not wait until adulthood to face the struggle for life. How many creatures know disappointments, the yoke, blows, obstacles, and failures from childhood on? I can tell you even more. In these times, man's pain begins even before he is born, that is, already in his mother's womb. 23. Great is the duty of atonement of the beings who come to earth in these times. But you must remember that all suffering that exists in the world is the work of man. Is there any greater perfection in my righteousness than to allow those who sowed thorns in the way of life to reap them now? 115, 35-37. 24. You cannot grasp my universal plan of salvation, but I am letting you know a part of it so that you may partake of my work. 25. I alone know the meaning of the time in which the world lives. No human being is able to comprehend the reality of this hour. 26. From the earliest times mankind has continuously defiled itself until it darkened its sensations and spirit, creating for itself a sick, restless and sad life. But now the hour of purification has come. 274, 11-12. 27. For all spirit beings the time of harvest has come, and therefore you see confusion among men. But truly, I tell you, in this chaos everyone will reap his own seed. 28. But what will happen to those of my children who have been constantly breaking my law? Truly, all who sleep and do not want to study and take heed of my teachings will be caught up in the trials as in a whirlwind that will bring them down. But to all who have obeyed my instructions, it will be like an encouragement for their duty, like a beautiful reward that God gives them. 310, 7. 29 In that time, the one who is not ready to renew himself will have to know the greatest bitterness and will be taken away from the earth, losing the precious opportunity to atone for his transgressions and to be reconciled with the law, truth, and life. 30 On the other hand, those who pass from this material life to the spiritual home with the peace and satisfaction that the fulfilled duty gives, will feel enlightened by my light, but if they are among those who must reincarnate, I will prepare them before they return to human life, so that they may rise pure, more spiritualized and with greater wisdom. 91, 38-39. The love of God in judgment. 31 Pain has poured out all its contents into the world and makes itself felt in 1,000 forms. 32 In what terrible haste do you live, mankind? How laboriously you knead the dough for the daily bread. Therefore men use themselves up before their time, women age prematurely, girls wither away in full bloom, and children become emotionless in their tender age. 33 An epoch of pain, bitterness, and trials is this time in which you are living now. Yet I want you to find peace, to achieve harmony, to drive away pain. For this I appear in the Spirit and send you my word, which is a dew of comfort, healing and peace on your spirit. 34 Hear my word, which is the resurrection and the life. In it you will regain faith, health and joy to fight and to live. 132, 42-45. 35 Today is a time of greatest reparation for the spirit. My judgment is opened, and every work has been put on a balance. Though this judgment is heavy and painful for the spirit beings, the Father is near to them, who is more of a loving Father than a judge. Also the love of Mary, your advocate, surrounds you. 153, 16. 36 My righteousness has come, mankind, it will humble man's pride to make him see how small he is in his wickedness and materialism. 37 Yes, people, I will cast down man in his false greatness, because I want him to see my light and to rise up, so that he may become great in truth. For I want you to be full of light, generosity, goodness, power, and wisdom. 285, 15-16. 38 Humanity misjudges me and denies my presence in this time. But I will let them know that I manifest my righteousness with love and mercy, that I do not come with the scourge to cause pain to it, that I only want to raise it to a life of grace and purify it with the crystal clear water which is my word, my truth. 39 The world has not learned my teaching and has nourished its idolatry and fanaticism. Therefore, it now experiences the great melting pot and drinks the cup of suffering, for its materialism has removed it from me. 334, 29-30. 40 Now mankind, divided into peoples, races, languages and skin colors, is receiving from my divine spirit their respective share of judgment, the trials that come to everyone, the struggle, the melting pot and the atonement that I have provided for every man and race. 41 But you know that my judgment is based on love, that the trials which the Father sends to men are love trials, that everything leads to salvation, to good, even if in these afflictions there seems to be misfortune, fate or misery. 42 Behind all this is life, the keeping of the Spirit, the redemption of the same. Always is the Father in expectation of the prodigal Son to embrace him with the greatest love. 328, 11.